Most real estate agents are broke for one simple reason, and it's not because of their brokerage or because they don't have a big sphere of influence. The reality is most agents are taught by the traditional brokerage model to just beg your friends and family for deals and then do whatever outbound prospecting you can, and then 20 years down the road you're going to be a successful agent. And if you've heard that before, I heard that when I first started, and I just did not in any way want to wait for 20 years to become successful. So in this video, I am going to break down the 5 things that I have seen most very, very successful agents do, and I'm talking $1 million in GCI or more, what they do that most agents do not. So hopefully you're able to take away one thing from this video that you can implement into your business. So let me dive in with the 5 things. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Christian Stubbs. I'm a team leader and owner of Onyx Homes, which is a real estate team that has done 740 transactions for almost $700 million in sales volume just since the year 2020, and I got into the business in 2019. So let's dive in the first 5 things. Now, reason number 1 is what most agents do not do, which is why they're broke. This is what all successful agents do, is they advertise. Now, when I say advertise, I'm not talking about posting a just listed or a just sold. I'm talking about they advertise what their offer is, what their services are to customers out in the field. And the reality here is absolutely nobody has any idea who you are. Nobody. Your sphere of influence doesn't even know who you are. And they certainly don't know you're a real estate agent. And you need to advertise more. And when I started advertising more, I'm going to tie in what I see people do, and then I'm going to share from very real first principles from what we do and how this has made a difference. We advertise more than any other real estate agent I know in our local market, and nobody knows who I am. Very few people know who our team is. And that just tells me that we do not advertise not even close to enough. So let's break this down. Now, if you are new to this channel, you might not know this, but I am a huge fan of Alex Hormozi and his content, especially his book series, his $100 million offers, $100 million leads. Now, this is a section, I'm going to put this up on the screen here, because I just think it was talked about just so simply that I don't want to recreate it. So Alex Hormozi in his book, $100 million leads, haven't bought it, buy it. I'll put the link in the description, but he talks about the core 4 when it comes to advertising. So the core 4 of advertising, let's make it as simple as possible. You have one-to-one, and then you have one-to-many. So for one-to-one, you can either do warm outreach, meaning you reaching out to people that already kind of know who you are, or you can do cold outreach, meaning you're reaching out to people that you don't know. And then you can do one-to-many, which is posting free content on social media like Instagram and TikTok and all those things, or you can run ads on, which is one-to-many, usually on those channels. So that's it. You can talk to people you already know, talk to people you don't know. You can make free content, or you can run paid ads. That's all you really have any control over when it comes to advertising. And the question is, how do you want to advertise? So this is where I'll share what we do for each of these. So number 1, for posting services on social media for free, we have built over the last 2 years or so a YouTube channel called All About OC, or All About Orange County. And we've been doing this for 2 years, and we've generated several $100,000 in GCI, which isn't, for reference, yes, that's great and we love it. That's not a lot in comparison to our team's size. For example, we're doing $600,000 in GCI this month. So over the last 2 years, 300 is not a huge amount. So it's not a big part of the business, but it's incredibly profitable. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of expenses that go into posting free content. Now, having said that, I have a marketing team, I have an editing team, I have, time and all of that. So there is cost associated to it, but for a real estate agent, posting free content on social media is absolutely a no-brainer. So I post 2 or 3 long form videos to that channel every single week, and I've done this for the last 2 years. So I am investing about 5 hours a week of my time just to get these videos up. We take those videos, we make short form videos, and what we're doing now is we're leveling up, and we're adding in all of the social channels as well for short form, Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about free organic advertising. And we chose to start with the YouTube channel, and we're expanding from there. So that's number 1 of the core 4 is the posting free content. Number 2 is we do warm outreach. Obviously, as a team of agents, I personally have not sold for the last 3 years. But as a team of agents, these are real stats in the last 90 days. We have made, as a company, 42,000 phone calls. We have had 5,400 conversations, meaning in our CRM, 2 minutes or longer on the phone is a conversation. 3,673 appointments, which has led to $55 million in closed volume and $30 million in pending volume. So that is how we have used warm outreach, reaching out to leads we already have in the database to generate a ton of money. Now, that's warm outreach. Let's talk about cold outreach. And this is something that we at a company level don't do at all. We do absolutely no cold outreach. All of the lead generation that we do as a company is inbound. Now, we do have individual agents that are out making cold calls and door knocking and doing outbound prospecting things. But from a company level, we don't do any of it at all. And we generate about 1,200 leads a month without any of that. So I won't talk too much about this, but this would be door knocking, cold calling. You could be doing mailing, for example, would be inbound as well too. Really, door knocking, cold calling for you as a real estate agent is the only thing I would really think about too much here. Now, number 4 is running paid advertising. So we have 2 different types of paid advertising for our company. Number 1 is we have a referral program. So instead of paying money for leads up front, we are in referral programs with Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, I mean, you name it. All of those different companies that you know the names of, send us leads and we pay a referral at closing. Now, that's not really running paid ads, but I would put it under the same category because we do also spend tens of thousands of dollars every single month on running advertising for our business. And we generate hundreds and hundreds of leads every month from doing that as well too. So as far as advertising, that's what we do on each of the different topics. Now, here's a pro tip I want to share with you is the only reason I was able to sell $1.1 million in GCI my first 2 years in sales. It was not because I was the best agent in the world. It wasn't because I knew more about real estate or I was the best salesperson in the world. But don't get me wrong, I was a good salesperson when I got into the business. But I sold more than most people I knew because I talked to way more people. And the reality is, this is a big takeaway that I've had in the last couple of years, is the agents that are the most successful, or anybody that's way more successful than average, let's say, a lot of times people will think they're doing maybe twice as much, maybe 3 times as much, when in the reality is they're probably doing 100 times more, 50 times more, 20 times more than what the average agent is actually doing. And I will say in real estate, it probably is 100 times more. And that is all I did, was I talked to way more people. I had some sales skills and I continued to build on that. And that was why I was able to scale up my business from my first year doing 380 in GCI to my second year doing 780 in GCI. Now, that was the first thing, which is advertising, which is just letting people know that you are in business and want to do deals with them. Most agents don't advertise at all. And again, just listed, just sold does not count. And posting call me for all your real estate needs does not count. But most agents don't do any of that. So start doing some advertising. Highly recommend warm outreach to everybody you know, cold outreach if you want to do that, and post free advertising. Do not run paid ads until you're making at least 100 grand. Number 2, this is time leverage. So the prerequisite number 1 is if you want to get too successful at any level, you have to advertise. Once you get successful, meaning you're busy and you're doing deals, time leverage becomes incredibly important. So I will share with you something Tom Ferry talked about a ton. I was in his coaching program for a very long time, and something he talked about a lot was focusing on your highest and best use of time. Now, let me give a very real personal example here, again, from when I was selling. My second year in sales, I did $780,000 in GCI. And let's say I worked 80 hours a week. Frankly, it was more than that, but let's say it was 80 hours a week. So if you take 80 hours a week and I worked 52 weeks in the year, that means I was working 4,160 hours. Okay, cool. Now, if we take the 780,000 that we made in GCI, divided that by the amount of hours that I worked, the 4,160, that comes out to $187 per hour. So that was my actual hourly rate, was $187 an hour. Now, what that means was if I was doing something that I could have hired somebody to do for $15 an hour or $20 an hour, I was literally, let's say $20 an hour, I would be lighting $167 on fire every single time I spent an hour doing something I could have paid somebody $20 an hour to do. So in my career, this is how it looked. In the beginning, I did everything. I had a partner at the time, but in the beginning, for my personal sales, I did everything, and I was working on 80 hours a week. Once I got so busy where I was working more like 100 hours a week and didn't have time I was losing money because I couldn't spend more time on sales. Then we hired a first assistant, and it was terrifying and it was scary. even though we had 6 figures in GCI pending, it was very scary to hire this person. But at the end of the day, we hired somebody for, I don't remember the rate, but $20 an hour, let's say, and they took 40 hours of nonsense off of my plate. And I was able to add, here's the huge, massive caveat to hiring people, is I was able to add 40 hours of sales back into my calendar. And go figure, the sales doubled or dramatically increased, because I don't have the exact stats. But I sold way more after we hired that assistant. She took things off my plate that I wasn't even good at in the first place, and I could do more of what I was good at, which was talking to customers and doing deals. Now, the next thing that happened was I was doing so many deals at this point that I was spending a lot of time actually managing the transactions. So what did we do? We hired an in-house transaction coordinator. That person pretty much, I negotiated the deal, gave them the file, and they did almost everything else after that unless I needed to negotiate again. So this again added probably 10 or 15, 20 hours back into my week, so I could put that again, even huge, massive caveat, back into sales. So I added more selling back into my calendar. The last hire we made before I completely jumped out of sales was I was also doing all of the marketing or all of the advertising. And that was taking up a lot of time as well too. So once we got to the point where I was just not wasting my time, but I was spending a lot of time on the advertising and marketing, we hired our marketing director of brand, who's still with us, and she took over all of the marketing at that time so that, you guessed it, I could go back into the rest of the time back into sales. If I would have kept selling, I just want to drive this point home, because if you are an agent making multiple 6 figures a year, this is like, if you're at 2 and you're stuck 250 or so, this is probably why. You probably are losing as many deals as you're actually making because you are trying to do everything. And now, do I think I could have done the assistant's job better than them? Yes. Do I think I could have done the paperwork? No, definitely not. Do I think I could have marketed better in the beginning? Maybe. But if I would have kept control of everything, it would have cost me tons of money. So this is the thing that I want to give it, is if I would have kept selling, and I wouldn't have, and we talked about this, if I was going to keep selling, the next hire was literally a driver, because I was spending so much time in the car driving from appointment to appointment that I did the math. I could have hired somebody for 50, 60 grand a year to drive me around, and I could have added 5 hours a day back into sales, to where instead of driving and texting and driving, trying not to die, I could have just had somebody drive me around and I could have been in the back working the whole time. And that would have added even more revenue, way more than pay for that person. So my point is, number 2 is you have to leverage your time back to get above a certain point. Now, if you're brand new in the business, you do not need to leverage anything. You need to sell more. You need to talk to more people and go back to advertise, number 1. All right, so that is number 2. I want to move on to number 3. Now, as we go through these numbers, one thing that I want to make a point to is that not all successful agents do all 5. These are just the 5 things that I see the most successful agents doing. And the farther we go through this list, the more powerful the thing is and the fewer people actually do it. So number 3 is building a personal brand. This is something I did not do at all when I was a salesperson. We started intentionally doing this about 2 years, maybe 3 years ago for me. And we chose to make my personal brand more of agent facing, making content like this and attracting people to our business. And shout out, if you're a real estate agent in Southern California and you want to join the best team in Orange County, go to joinonyxhomes.com or click the link down below. Anyway, so that's why we make this content. We chose to make my personal brand agent facing. Agent facing. So I can't talk too much about it consumer facing. However, here we are right now we're on pace to do about $6 million in revenue this year. And we decided that it is so valuable to have a personal brand that is consumer facing to generate more leads, advertising, that we're deciding to build out both sides of my personal brand. So we were building out 2 of everything, one for agent facing, making content like this to help you sell more real estate, and another totally different brand that is also obviously me, to be all about Orange County. So the YouTube channel that I mentioned earlier that's working really well, building out all of those socials to make me the real estate pro, to make content, to generate leads, to drive those leads to our company, to do more deals. So this is so powerful that we decided it was worth investing double all of the resources, and we're doubly tripling down on this personal brand thing as well too. Now, there is a video, I'm gonna link this in the description down below as well too, is Caleb is the guy that was in a large part behind Gary Vee's personal brand, maybe not large part. He played a part in Gary Vee's personal brand building, and he was the guy that helped Alex Hermosi build his personal brand and Layla's as well too. They're not publicly saying that, so Sorry, Alex, if you happen to watch this. But this was somebody's framework that Caleb said in his free course, and we've learned at acquisition.com as well too. Is here is the framework for building your personal brand, or really anything for content. Is number one is, what do I want to have happen? So write out very first, what do I want to have happen? So when I did this for the consumer facing side, I wanted to attract professionals that wanted a high level of service for their next real estate transaction, buy or sell. So that is what we want to happen, is we want to have a large amount of inbound of people that want high level of service for moving in and around Southern California. So number two is, what do I have to be known for in order for that to happen? So what we chose was, we want All About Orange County, like Christian at All About Orange County. We're still fleshing that out. We want to be known as like a real estate professional, not a local expert, not a real estate agent, but as a real estate pro, like all things real estate on that side. So that was number two. Number three is, what do I have to do in order to have that happen, right? What do I have to do in order to be known for that? Well, we have to be posting tons and tons of content. So we have to get better at the YouTube content that we're making, and we have to make tons on the social side as well too. Now, the fourth thing is, what do I have to learn in order to do that? And to be honest, before I hopped on to film today, we were building out how to produce 60 short form pieces of content a week and 6 long form content pieces per week. That is a big increase from what we've done. So we have to learn from a marketing side of how to do that. I have to make sure that my scripting is dialed in and all of that stuff so that we can actually put out that much content. And we have to make sure that we have the staff, like a videographer and editors as well too, in order to do this. So that's something that I have to learn in order to be actually able to do this as a business owner. So you can use that framework as well too. So what do I want to have happen? What do I need to be known for? What do I need to do in order to be known for that? And then what do I need to learn in order to do those things? That's the 4-piece framework there. My biggest piece of advice is decide what you want the end goal to be. In the beginning, we wanted the end goal because I like talking about this way more than I like talking about pros and cons of moving to Orange County. So I want to be known for all things real estate, sales, marketing, and leadership. But on our personal brand side, for the consumer stuff, I want to be known as a real estate pro so that wherever somebody's located in Southern California, they feel like they can reach out to me and know that they're going to get a really good service. That's what we wanted to go for there. So I hope that helps. Now, number 4 is something that usually your highest producing agents don't do unless they actually run a successful team, and most don't, is database over Notepad. So most successful real estate agents I know they've either totally done this and bought in, or they have not done it at all and they lose tons and tons of money because of it, is building an actual database that is worth gold. I have friends that make $1 million a year and have no systems for follow-up at all, or they don't really use them. And it blows me away because they really, at the end of the day, they become a transactional real estate agent because you're not building relationships and you're certainly not doing it at scale. Yes, of course, you're going to follow up with your friends and your family and stuff like that, but if somebody's not banging down your door to do a deal, you're probably going to miss out on that deal unless they really, really are persistent on following up with you. Now, if you're in a new position, this is what I want you to take. If you're anywhere near wanting to build a database, I'm going to simplify this as much as possible. If you want to have a database that prints money in the future, start today. Whether you're doing your first deal or trying to make your first 100K or trying to get to the first $250,000, $500,000, whatever it is, start today on your database. It will pay absolute dividends over the long term, and it's really not very hard to do. It's something I feel like we do better than almost anybody else in the marketplace, and it pays dividends for us. I send a weekly email to our entire database every single week, and we make content for our database every single week. That is literally it. On top of that, what we also do is we run remarketing ads so that they constantly see our face in our advertising. And I'm not in sales, so I'm not doing this, but call them. So if you have people in your database, call them at least quarterly. 4 times a year is all we're really asking for. And a huge bonus, if you have their address, put them on a mailer once a month. So whatever your monthly market update is, send that on a mailer as well too. Put whatever valuable thing you can on there, but just add value to your customers in your database, and over a long period of time, you will print money. I promise. So many people don't do this, and I made a whole video on it, so I won't go too much detail. But so many people just choose not to do this, and it drives me absolutely insane because it's such low-hanging fruit. But the problem is, it's not immediate gratification. There's nothing you're gonna do today that's gonna make your database worth gold. But doing it consistently over a long period of time absolutely will. Now, this leads us to number 5, and let's do a quick recap. And I also have a bonus for you after this one as well too. I know I said 5, but I have a bonus, which is 6. So number 1, first and foremost, was advertise. Most people, or most real estate agents, are broke simply because they do not advertise. The second thing is, once you are advertising and you're making a few 6 figures, you need to time leverage. You need to find and use your highest and best use of time and figure out how you can do that. Number 3 is another big one, is building your personal brand. Getting your time back so that you can reinvest more time in your personal brand is also advertising. And yes, if it sounds like these are compounding, it's because they absolutely are. Now, the fourth thing is very, very, very easy to do with the biggest return you can imagine, is building out your database. Now, number 5 is you actually investing in your skills. I have talked to so many top producing agents that will go and spend 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 just to go get better at what they're already doing. If you don't know how to, if you feel like you can learn how to ask questions a little bit better and you spend $10,000 going to a workshop and you can make 10% more money, that's a lot of money. If you're talking about, even if you're making 200, 300 grand a year, we're talking about 3xing your money if you make 10% more. You can increase your conversion rates a little bit by sales skills. And then, like for me, for example, I stopped learning so much about sales and I started learning more about marketing and advertising. I spent a ton of money to learn how to recruit to our team. I spent a ton of money to learn how to do content. So all of these different things, top producing agents will actually pay to invest in their skills. A lot of agents that I have actually had, I have a huge caveat to this as well too, is, let me make this point. My big caveat with this is it's not just spending the money. I have spent a ton of money on this stuff and got massive amounts of value from it. However, friend groups that I've, people that I've met, acquaintances, friends, whatever it might be, I have met so many people in my 6 years in the business, 5 years since starting the team. I have met so many people that I met 5 years ago that are paying all this money for this coaching, consulting, whatever you want to call it. And they have the exact same problem now as they did 5 years ago. And they paid all the money. So just going to these things and just doing coaching or whatever isn't at all the reason. It's all about the implementation. And honestly, 95% of the people that I have met at these things are literally in the same or worse position than they were when I met them, business-wise. And it's because they don't implement what they're actually learning, or they're just going there to make friends, which is crazy to spend that much money to make friends. But how is this possible? It's just because they don't implement anything. So going out and investing in skills. If you go to a Phil Jones Exactly What to Say workshop, do it and implement it into your business and watch it change. I've done this plenty of times where I went and spent money, learned something, and then implemented it. And I'm like, wow, this stuff actually works. Like, duh. Same thing with this video. If you're taking one thing away from this, hopefully actually just go implement it. And that is number 5, is investing in skills. And frankly, with YouTube, it's free. Let me give you a very real example for that. Is I just got back 2 weeks ago from Alex Hormozi's acquisition.com scaling workshops. So we invested in the first one and we did the upsell. So we went, and I have a different video coming out on this, but we went through their VAM, which is their year-long deal, where they basically tell you what they would do to grow your business. If you don't know who they are, Google Alex Hormozi and watch his content. My point is, the first thing was $5,000, and they basically shared how their business philosophies of how they grow business. That alone was the best $5,000 I've ever spent on anything, and that includes, like, I can go advertise more and spend 5 and make 25. I would much rather have paid for this workshop and then learned what I did, because that made a way bigger return than $25,000. But having said that, almost all of the lessons learned from that $5,000 workshop are for free on their YouTube channel. The difference is, at the workshops, it's condensed and confined into these are the most important things. And this is exactly how we look at it, versus watching hundreds of hours of YouTube to get the same ideas. However, I had already watched all of the YouTube videos, so while I'm sitting at the scaling workshops, I'm thinking like, yep, I remember that video. I need to go back and rewatch that one. Yep, I remember that. So that stuff's free. So it's not about spending the money. It's about actually implementing the things you learned. All right, and I promised a bonus, but first, if you like this style of content, go ahead and like the video and drop a comment down below for the one thing you liked about this video, and I will make sure that I add it more in future videos. But like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. But the bonus deal here is advertise way more. And I know advertise was number one, but I did this in my business where I advertised a lot for the size of business that I was. And then I got distracted on how important advertising was. Advertising, as I mentioned, was the only reason I was able to do as much GCI as I did in my first 2 years. 350 in my first year, 780 in my second year was the only reason I was able to do that, is because I advertised more than everybody else, period, in the marketplace. Maybe not more than everybody else, but certainly more than anybody I knew. And then grew the team, did all the things, and fast forward 4 years later, like we grew a big team. We a very successful company and all that stuff. And in the last year and a half, I have been reminded at how much more I need to advertise. When I say that we spend a lot of money, we do a ton of advertising, still people in the marketplace have no idea who we are in a small local market, that means that we're not advertising nearly enough. So this is my PSA to you. I was talking to a guy at one of these conferences, and he was asking me about my business, and when I asked him about his, he was like, oh, I'm spending $300,000 on this thing, on this source, one single lead source. Like, wow, that's a lot. Like, good for you. 30 grand a month is a lot of money. And he's like, oh, no, I spend 300 grand a month on that one source. And I was just like, whoa, what? And he's like, yeah, we spend 300 grand on this a month on this source, and we make 3 to 4 times on our money. And it just reset bar and expectations. Because when I first started selling, I was spending 30 grand a month, 35 grand a month on ads for me and a very small team. And this guy was spending what we were spending a year every single month for his team. And I want to grow a big team as well too. And it just reset, like, you just need to increase that. You need to advertise more. So I wanted to leave that last here. I hope you found this valuable. If you did, you're probably thinking, I need to generate more leads. I hope that's one of the things you took away from this video. And if you did, right after you like and subscribe, I made this other video that goes through 18 strategies that you can use to generate more leads. So watch this next video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.